Okay, so we're on question 2 now. And we're continuing on with Pythagoras. So I showed you the shortcut and I showed you the long form for the Pythagorean theorem. One of the hard parts in Pythagorean theorem is if they don't give you a picture. So it says a wire, and don't worry about this word, you can just cross that word out. A wire is attached to the top of a pole and is anchored 2 meters away from the base. Find the length of the wire. So if the pole is straight up and down, being 10, the wire is attached 2 meters away from the base, then this is the shape that you arrive at. So you have to ask yourself, are you solving for a long side or a short side? This is the long side. So in the shortcut, is it addition or subtraction? Addition. So open up your bracket, calculator, radical. 10 squared plus 2 squared, close bracket. This is a calculator shortcut. It should work every time, especially if you put a bracket. You have to have that bracket there. Because the bracket tells the calculator to do the internal calculation first and then square root last, which is just like the algebra would do. So I end up at 10.198. And just because it's the beginning of the course, if it says nearest 10th, what's my answer, guys? 10.2. Good. If it says nearest 100th, what's my answer? 10.20, because the 8 rounds this to 0, and that would round that to 2. And what if it said the nearest unit? Then what would you put? 10. Very good. Okay, next one. 6-meter ladder is attached or placed 1.2 meters from the base. How far up the ladder will it reach? So the ladder is 6 meters. A 6-meter ladder. So it's like, okay, here's my ladder leaning up against the wall, and it's worth 6. And it's placed 1.2 meters from the base. How far up? So which is the question mark this time? Is it a long side or a short side? Short side. So then the calculator shortcut involves addition or subtraction? Subtraction. Do you put the big number or the small number first? The big number. Because what if you put the small number first? Small take away big is positive or negative. Can you take the square roots of negatives? No. So that's why you always just put the big number first. You have to square it, just like when we watched the video, it was the squares, not the side lengths, but the squares. What's the answer here? 6 squared, take away 1.2 squared, close my bracket, I got 4.56. Is that cool? What's the one thing that I'm missing in my answers from above and here? Number 2 and number 3, I'm missing something. Yeah, meters. So use the unit that they used. Alright, number 4. This looks like a 2-step problem. So which question? You guys got a different answer than I did? Let me just type it in again. Maybe I screwed up. Probably I did. 6 squared, take away 1.2 squared, close my bracket. I got 5.878. Like this? Okay. And then you would round that however they wanted. So for number 4, the 2 steps, which one do you think you solve for first, x or y? Which one you want to go after first? Why do you want to go after y? Yeah, because if you just focused in on the first triangle, there's not enough information. But in the second triangle, You got two of the three possibilities, so you can solve for the third. Is y a short or a long? Which one? Short. So we do add or subtract? Good. So calculate a shortcut with a subtract. Which one goes first, the 9 or the 6? 9. So the square of 9, take away the square of 6. 81, take away 36, 6.7? Okay, and then once you have that, like especially if you're going to use an intermediate calculation for the next calculation, take a few decimals for precision. Otherwise, you'll have rounding error. Now on the next question, solving for x, is it a long or a short? It's a long. So when we do our calculator shortcut, we will add. And the order won't matter now because it's addition. So the square of 3 and the square of the answer we just got. And take a few decimals so that you have precision. So square root, bracket, square of 3 is 9 plus 6.7082, and then I'll use the power 2, close my bracket. I got 7.348. And this is the most random unit ever, decimeter. Nobody uses decimeter, except for this question. Any problems with that? Okay. One more to do. Do you guys still need this page? Anyone need the page? Okay, moving on. The diagonal of a square is 13 centimeters. Find the length of the side. Okay, so square. Draw my square. Okay, I got the square in there. Now what does diagonal mean? Cut across? Okay. Cut across. Find the length of the side. So this one's interesting because the only value they gave you is the diagonal, 13. Is that the long side or short side? Long side. And because it's a square, what do you know about the length and the width of this shape? They're the same. Length and width are the same. And this is the hardest thing for students in math. You take a situation and you translate it into variables. Students absolutely struggle with this. So if the length and the width are the same, you would not do this, LW. You don't give two different letters. You have to give the same letter. So let's use x and x. Because it's the same value, so you use the same letter. Now when you go to your formula, which is the Pythagorean famous formula, what goes in for C? What goes in for A? What goes in for B? Alright, now some of you might be looking at that thing on the right very scared, but I'll ask you this. How much is 1 apple plus 1 apple? 2 apples. How much is 1x squared plus 1 more x squared? This is 2x squared. I have a joke for you. What's 6q plus 4q? 10q? You're welcome. That is clever, right? Alright, so let's finish this question off. What's the left side? 13 squared is? 169. Now, how do I solve for x in this case? What if I had something like this? 25 equals 5x. It's completely random, different question. How would you solve for this x? I would have to divide out this 5, right? So you have to do that as well here. Okay? You do that before you square root. You know, like BEDMAS where you do the exponents first? Well, in solving for equations, you do the exponents at the end. You do the brackets at the end. It's like in the reverse order. So divide out the 2. So what's 169 divided by 2? 84.5. And now to solve for this, we have to square root. So square root. Okay, and you get 9.2. Okay, so surface area of a right pyramid and the right cone, keeping in mind that we just did the Pythagorean theorem. And now we'll just do some preliminary notes to get us started. Area is measured in what type of units? Louder? Square units. So like if you went to go buy flooring for your home, you would have to buy it by the square foot or the square meter. And volume is measured in? Good, cube units. The area formula for a triangle, it's on your yellow sheet. You use the perpendicular height to the base, and it's BH over 2, base times height divided by 2. That's on your formula sheet. And then the area formula for a rectangle, also on the formula sheet, length times width. And the area formula for a circle, you have to use the radius, which is half the diameter. You would use pi times the radius squared. Okay, the circle will be for the cone, and the rectangle or the square will be for the base of a pyramid. And down at the bottom you can see that picture here. This is the right pyramid. It's basically just a pyramid. It's a three-dimensional object that has triangular faces, so highlight that. Okay, triangular faces. And a base that is a polygon. Okay, and the base that is a polygon. Your choices for that base are only 2, rectangle and square. You won't do like octagonal pyramids at all. It'll always either be a square or a rectangle. The shape of the base determines the name of the pyramid. Okay, so if it's called a square pyramid or a rectangular pyramid. The triangle faces meet at a point called the apex. That's right here at the top, so jot that in. Apex. The height of the pyramid is the perpendicular distance from the apex to the center of the base. That's here. Don't get it confused with the slant height, which you have to jot in. Did everybody see that? That's slant height. It's also at a right angle to the base. Okay, so if I blow this up and I want to connect the height from the area formula for a triangle up here to right here. See how I put a star up by this height here? This starred height, the height of a triangle's face, is the slant height on the pyramid. Okay? And if you look at my object that I'm holding in my hand right now, that's the slant height. It's the height of the triangle's face using BH over 2. This height is the pyramid's height. It goes from the apex to the center of the base. Okay? So know the difference. I guess this thing down here at the bottom is the base. It can be either a square or a rectangle. If it's a square, all four of these triangles are the same. If it's a rectangle, then they come in pairs. 2 of the triangles are the same, and the other 2 are the same, but they are different from each other. Okay, so when the base of the pyramid is a regular polygon, The triangle faces are the same, so just repeating what I just said. And the triangular faces are congruent, then the slant height of the right pyramid is the height of the triangular face. So that would be for this case here. We won't do these. And you might see the tetrahedron. I have seen that in the past. Tetra meaning 4. The tetrahedron has 4 congruent triangle faces. So just in case you see the tetrahedron in your homework. There's no square base, there's no rectangle's base. It's the tetrahedron. We should be focused here on the pyramid. Either it's square pyramid or the rectangle's pyramid. Okay, next page. Okay, the surface area of a pyramid is the sum of all faces and remember that's area. So you add up all the areas. And if they ever use this word lateral, and they will on tests, midterm, or tests and finals, if you ever see the lateral word, you just omit the base. So in other words, sum all faces on the sides. And if you ever know what the word lateral means, it basically means to the side. So, to the side. But in this course, if you see the word lateral, just remember, omit the base. Don't include the base. Okay, so using this chart, I'm just going to help you locate the pictures on the back of your yellow sheet. So you don't actually have to do this chart. So everybody has the yellow sheet? I noticed some people don't have the yellow sheet. You should have a yellow sheet because I gave them to all of you. Never lose it. And don't write on it. Only write on it if I tell you to write on it. You need to keep it for your tests. Okay, I don't want to have to hand one of these out to everybody for every test. Does anybody else not have one? Okay, I do have extras, so if you lose one, I'm not going to like cry at home at night. But yeah, try to be responsible. Don't lose it. Hold on to it. Now, the first one they're talking about is the cone. Where's the cone on the back of the page? Third from the bottom? Yeah, okay. I'm just going to jot in the formula for the cone. Pi rs plus pi r squared. Do you recognize the pi r square? What's that for? The circle base. So if they asked you for the lateral area of a cone, you would just cross that whole section off. This is the lateral area. The thing in the box. Does that make sense? Lateral means I don't care about the base. So I'd only care about the wrap, the side face. So I would omit the circle pi r squared, and I would just calculate pi times r times s, and then I'd be good. Cylinder, same idea. Look at the formula for cylinder. 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. So what is this that I got an arrow pointing to? Well, up above you had 1 pi r squared, which represents one circle. So for the cylinder, this 2 tells you that there's 2 circles. So if they ever said like, what is the surface area of this cylinder, not including the base on the ground, maybe I'm doing paint and I have to paint the sides and the top, I would change this 2 to a 1 because I only need to include one circle. This other formula in the box is the lateral area. So you would omit the top and the bottom. It's just the stuff on the side. So I guess in the lateral definition, let's omit the base and put an S in plural in case there's two bases. So I just added an S here up in the definition. Okay, so put a box around the lateral area. And in fact, what you'll see is that this 2 pi r is circumference, and this height is just the height of a rectangle. So you times those two together, it's basically just the perimeter of a sheet of paper, or the area of a sheet of paper. So here's the circumference. I'm just holding a piece of paper in my hand. The side is the height. You rotate it like this, folding it up, you get a cylinder. So it's just circumference times height. Okay, and the next is the right prism. This is just a box, okay? This is the second one down. It's 2LW plus 2WH plus 2LH. Basically all it is 6 faces. Okay, there's 6 faces on a box. So now I'm just holding a Kleenex box up in my hand. You have a front and a back. Does everybody see that? Front and a back, they're the same. So it's just the area of a rectangle times 2. You have the sides. So another area of a rectangle times 2, because there's 2 sides. And then you have the top and the bottom, which is just another area of a rectangle times 2. So that's what these formulas are. The front, back, the sides, and the top, bottom. That's all that is. And the last is the pyramid. And the pyramid's formula is really wonky on the formula sheet. So I'm going to show you what to do in the notes. Okay, so see the notes for the right pyramid. Everybody okay moving on to the next page? Because we got only about 13 minutes here to get this section done. Okay, so we have a right pyramid with a slant height of 10 and a base of 8. Find its surface. Okay, so this step 1, 2, 3, 4 is completely optional. This is just asking you to draw a net. What I want you to think about for surface area is that it's a total of 2D faces. So let's take a look at the 2D faces. What shape is the base? Is it square or rectangle? It tells us it's square. So then all you have to do for the formula for a square, side squared, which is on your formula sheet right at the bottom of the front, A equals x squared for the area of a square. So basically 8 squared, we have 64, and the units are square units. Now you have triangles. How many sides do you have? There are 4 of them. So all you need is the area of one side times 4, because there's 4 of them. Does that make sense? Okay, so what's the area of a triangle formula? Well, base times height divided by 2. We know the base is 8. That's this, right? 8. And then did they tell us the slant height? Yes, they did. It's 10. So base times height divided by 2, and then times by 4. So base times height would be 8 times 10 divided by 2 timesing 4. Looks like 8 times 10 is 80, dividing 2 is 40. 40 times 4, 160. Okay. Now, what do we do with the 64 and the 160? We just have to add them up. 160 and 64. 224. Thank you to the person who's a quick adder over there. So this is our surface area right here. 224. Now, the next question, I'm glad we got to it. It's one of the harder questions you'll see in the surface area section. That's number 2. Number 2, we'll go through very slowly. We'll draw a picture very slowly so that everybody understands what's happening. There's going to be Pythagoras involved, and you most definitely need a picture. Okay, so let me help you with that picture. Starting with the first sentence. A right rectangular pyramid has base dimensions 4 by 6. So rectangular pyramid, draw a rectangle. And you draw it weird. You like draw it at an angle, like it's squished. So maybe I'll use the line tool. Okay, like this. And like this. And like this. And like this. Okay, mine's kind of weird because I used the tool, but you just kind of have to draw it squished. Then you got to find your middle. You got to find the middle somewhere. Okay, and I missed. Find the middle. Go straight up with a dotted line. That goes all the way up to, what's it called? It starts with A. Apex. And then from your apex, you can draw down to the corners. Mine's kind of weird, but there's your pyramid. And then, like, if you had another color pen, you might want to just jot in the slant height. Go halfway from the slant height's base to the middle where the apex lands, and what happens is you get a right angled triangle in there. Okay. Now we can go ahead and label some stuff. So what is 4 by 6 telling me? That the rectangle has a dimension of 4 by 6. So let's just put 4 on the front and 6 on the side, just so everybody's on the same diagram. It could have went 6, 4, it doesn't matter. You'll get the same answer in the end. Everyone's consistent, 4 there and 6 there. Now this height of 8 is super crucial. The height of 8 is the normal height from the apex to the center of the base. I'll blow that up for you. Okay? When it says that the height of the pyramid is 8, they are not talking about the slant. Now, in order to calculate the surface area of a pyramid, you need, absolutely you need the slant. So we have to solve for the slant twice, because there's 2 different slants. Okay, there's a slant on the right here, and there's also a slant down the front here. So make sure you draw in both slants. Call this one S1, we'll call this one S2. There's 2 slant heights. Now the slant heights, because it's a rectangle, they're different lengths. Okay, on my object up here, all the slant heights are the same, so it's super easy. But if it's a rectangle base, slant heights are different. Now, let's put a little hint. Use half distances for the base. Okay, so for the triangle for slant 1, this is a 3 down here. Actually, I'll change color to blue. This is 3 down here. Why is that 3? Because it's half of... Yeah, use my pointer here. See, it's half of this distance, 6. And the other is 2. So this one's 2 here. Alright, so switching back to black ink, and I can solve for both. So I'll just put them on the side here. This one is 8, this one is 3. This one is 8, this one is 2. Okay, so 2 separate Pythagorean calculations, okay, for S1 and S2. S1 and S2, those slant heights, they're both hypotenuse. So in our shortcut for Pythagoras, we will add. So 8 squared plus 3 squared. And this one shortcut is 8 squared plus 2 squared. Okay, Pythagorean shortcuts, solving for slant 1 and slant 2. Okay, I got 8.544. Take a few decimals for accuracy. Slant 2, I got 8.246. Now when you go to solve for the surface area total, remember surface area is a total, how many different shapes do you have? You have a square, no, you have a rectangle, and you have 2 triangles, and then you have another 2 triangles. So we have to add all those up. Okay, so what's the area of the rectangle? This one's easy. So what is it? 6 times 4.
Our next Eastland Blood Drive video will be held Thursday, February 18th, 2016, from 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock. That Thursday, so it's going to be an early dismissal.
Now for the first triangle,
This blood drive will load up our yearly tally for the Young Blood Drive Challenge.
remember, base times height divided by 2.
15 years or older, or staff member, please see Ms. Ferguson in room 120. Sign up again for
What's the base of this triangle? 4. And the height is S1.
So make sure you get there quick and make sure that you sign up.
Okay, we solve for those slants for a reason. Okay, so the formula for the 2 triangles would be 2 times the base, which is 4, times the slant height, 8.544, all over 2, plus the other 2 triangles. And what's the base of the other 2 triangles? The base is 6, and now we have to use S2, the second slant. So base 6 times the height S2, and then divide by 2 at the end. So 6 times 8.246 divided by 2. The nice thing about these formulas is that the 2's are canceling, like that. And you have all this in my calculator. 6 times 4 plus 4 times 8.544 plus 6 times 8.246. And I end up with 107.7 after rounding. And, oh, it says nearest square meter, so that's going to round it up. This is 108 square meters.
Should attend the makerspace meeting in the upper staff room across from the library during East today.
ENN meeting today. There will be an ENN meeting in the upper staff room across from the library during East.
Okay, there's 30 seconds before the bell rings. We will finish off questions 3 and 4 tomorrow, but there is an assignment at the bottom of this page. I highly recommend that you work on this assignment, and if you're having issues, then come in at East. If what I did on the board is scary, come in at East. If you missed a quiz, come in at East. Okay? East is back to normal today, so you can go wherever you like. But if you missed a quiz, you are expected to come to my East, okay, and write it. If you borrowed a calculator, come give it back.